Welcome back. You here with Goldberg. Today we'll be talking about the Bioleninism concept and whether politics may in fact be a cope for many of you goobers out there. Bioleninism holds you can construct a very effective political coalition by exploiting the grievances and resentment of those who are on the dregs of society, such as sub-5s, incels. In the case of this article, it says the blacks, Hispanics, Jews, Muslims, feminists, homosexuals, pedophiles, transsexuals, schizophrenics, and worst of all, single women in their mid to late 30s. There is much merit to this, although it can be applied to the right wing as well. Typically, they're directing it towards the left. I'll talk about in the video. I do want to make a quick qualifier, however, because sometimes, especially in the black pill community, people will respond to all politics in this manner. They'll try to individualize every aspect of existence. So if you're a person who says, I really don't want to live in a community that's constantly being developed to provide housing for H-1Bs and sub-Saharans, we'll have the shitlib type response. Oh, why don't you just work harder and compete with them instead of being insecure? No, it can be legitimate that you don't want this. What these folks do is they are too stupid to consider maybe the power elite is doing something wrong, so they just will constantly shill. Or another example might be, oh, have you seen the people who followed Mustache Man? They don't look like they're superior. Well, that's just Anglo-centric propagandistic stupidity because Aaron Volk as a term has been really translated. Almost no one in that organization or leadership genuinely believed in the concept of a master race. In fact, Mustache Man himself said it was aspirational. He didn't believe that Germanic individuals were inherently superior. They had to earn it through their actions and their ability to construct an effective society and use of the state. But the state, not like you libertarians understand it. You have to read Hegel. The state was like a higher form of man. It was not just bureaucracy, but in fact a spiritual concept for the betterment of humanity. That's a discussion for another time. Maybe if I finish that book eventually after the current one I'm working on, we can delve in. But let's take a gander with this bio-Leninism, or on the other side, what might we call it? Bio-fascism, or who knows, paternal autocracy? I butchered that, sorry. This delightful fellow is called Maoist Rebel News or Jason Unruhi. He's your average pudgy white dude, semi-balding cell, beard, glasses, and for years he's been promoting radical far left politics. In fact, I think he's more pro-Stalin, at least in some respects. By the way, Stalin was a bit of a tradcon. Stalin would certainly not have tolerated the stuff going on in our society, at least not until he took power, and then he would have wiped it out very readily. But according to this individual, he's been doing videos for like 14 years, almost every day. He's got only about 40,000 subs. He said his mental health is in decline. Maybe he's been able to pick off a couple of chicks through his subscribers and make merriments, but realistically, he has low SMV. And might that explain why he's attracted to radical type ideas? Who knows? There's a dude who actually trolls this channel. I call him National Socialist Potato Head. He's always making these passive aggressive community posts talking about he's going to wipe out an entire population. He's going to take power and do this, and going, start working on it, dude, because I don't see any results so far. And then you got Hassan Abi, who is also on the left, but more of the great value democratic socialism. He has far more followers. He's worth a ton of money. He has much higher SMV, even if he dresses like a doofus from high school. And so you say, what is the difference there? Primarily, it's got to be looks. The reason why Hassan Abi, regardless of what political system he's living under, oligarchy, communism, I mean, maybe in Islam they'd put him in a burqa, who knows? He's going to be fine because he's got decent looks. And so you see, he doesn't have to revert to these more extremist positions to be able to advance in society. So yeah, I can kind of appreciate that maybe if you are, you don't function well, and it's not just looks, it might also be your ability to interact with people, being outgoing and making friends might also have an aspect to where if you are more isolated, these ideas would seem, being part of something bigger would be incredibly appealing. And this brings us to the Trump cell dynamic. Lux Maximus brought this up with these guys who are probably in dead bedroom relationships. They're angry, so they're willing to put themselves on the line for this LARPy cause. And people made fun of AOC when she was tweeting that stuff about activists. Make sure you're all dressed in black. They can't see who you are. Put your phone on airplane mode. People such as this individual, the Trump patriot conservative from Louisiana, they would laugh at that and say, "No, I'm going to proudly say who I am." And that's the problem, though. Because if they were all dressed like MAGA communists, all in red or something of that nature, most of them wouldn't have gotten charged with anything. This dude, unfortunately, he actually went to trial, which was stupid because once the feds charge you, it's pretty much guaranteed they're going to get a conviction. It's seldom that they lose a case because they have abundance of evidence. And with these dudes, they didn't cover it up at all. They made it very obvious what they were doing all over social media, and they didn't even try to obscure their appearance. You should know, though, he has attractive daughters. Like this one was ranting about Aldous Huxley. Where do I find these women that are into weird conspiracy theories, but not of the shit lib variety? You have to let me know. Anyway, the dad, his soy jack son, turns him in. He gets like 7 years in prison. And you're going, was it worth it for this pro business deregulation president? Was it truly enough to put yourself on the line? Maybe. I mean, I'm just not in touch with that, perhaps. We all have LARPing political views, to be honest, at some point in our life. But the difference is when you start looking at the movements that have been successful and you realize, okay, these were professionals, they were army officers, they were getting foreign funding. There was more to it than just, oh, yeah, we're all going to go and spontaneously, like, running into Fort Sumter in glory until you hit a cannonball, or Mel Gibson rallying the troops to defeat the British. It is great in a movie, but in real life, you need a bit more professionalism, to be perfectly honest. Trump, if he wanted to stay in power, should have been cleaning house in the government at least a year or two beforehand, making alliances with the security and military people he could rely on. You have to have a bigger plan because even if he had stayed in power, if Pence had been a true patriot conservative and they had done what Trump wanted, you would have half the country believing that there was some kind of political coup, and so there would have been some kind of civil conflict. There would have been a constitutional crisis. So you have to have more of a plan than just, oh, we're going to do this LARP and everyone's going to forget about it. Not exactly how it functions. And the sad part with these dudes, they were betting everything on Trump staying in power while they said the 2020 election was rigged. But now, and I have these Trump imbeciles in my comments that go, what other option is there? You got to vote for Trump. What if a 2024 is also rigged? Have you thought of that, you genius? So these people, some of them got like 20 years in prison. What's going to happen? They're going to get a pardon? Probably not. You literally ruined your life on a meme. That's how sad this is. And I don't gloat over it. I think it's tragic. But that's why these people that they have no conception besides Trump, even though Trump screwed over a bunch of individuals and didn't bail them out when he had the chance, because there's no guarantee of a future chance. Remember that. And so we come to the curious case of Pat Stedman. I did a community post on this guy. Some people were confused, so I figured we could flesh it out here. He had never a tremendous career in the manosphere. This was a long-time rivalry with Rolly Tomaso, where Tomaso said he's a soy man who's angry because his wife got pumped and dumped in the past. And Stedman was like, he's tweeting insults about my wife from behind a block. If you have balls, let's debate. So he had a bit of a dating coach type thing. You see, he was an egg sperm on female psychology and text game, and he would charge $500 for a consultation. He got in with Anthony, It Was Only Just a Dream, and the Masculinity Egg Sperm Conference. So he had a little bit of clout, but not too much. And in fact, one of the people, the reviews on his Amazon page for his book, they were like, oh yeah, this dude's been married for so long. He's obviously not really a player, but he's trying to teach game, which is very common. I could be a better dating coach than these guys. All that I do is I say, looking in the corner there, I saw Baby W working on a White Claw, and I was like, man, I'm simping tonight. That's all you got to do. It's very simple. Don't buy all these courses. So, as you can see, the guy is very average to below average, semi-balding cell, and he's the dude who just have been content, work your 9 to 5, and hope that your wife is loyal for at least 10 years so you're not raising some other dude's kids. That's what he should have done. He's in his 30s, but he goes to the Capitol. He says, it's going to be the next 4th of July. You'll tell your grandkids about this. Yeah. So you're implying something more than hot dogs and hamburgers. He live streams. His former high school classmate points him out. He gets arrested. They charge him with 4 misdemeanors, I believe, but then they upgraded it to a felony. This is where, as a smart person, to save money and save disaster, you either negotiate for a better deal, because they said we'll give you about 4 years in prison if you just confess. You negotiate for something better, you just take it because they've got you. But he says no, he's going to run game on the jury, and he goes to trial, gets convicted and everything, and now could get up to 20 years. Realistically, he'll get less than 10 if I were to guess. But you say, what possesses these people to think, as some normie guy doing a LARP, that somehow it's going to work out okay, and I'll have more followers online, I'll be given a medal by Trump. It's all about ego. And so they don't do the stuff AOC said, which is smarter, which is don't be noticeable, don't tell everyone about it, and they get busted. And he was still going in the tweets after the conviction. He goes, "Who told us? Who told us to go inside?" Look, it started out as Antifa. Then it became that boomer Ray Epps. He's like Palpatine controlling everything. Dude, is it so hard to believe that these T-evangelicals who not only were listening to Trump, but are used to a steady diet of all these Facebook pages and whatnot, which indeed, if you look at the book Like War, there were these clowns in Moldova making six-figure salaries pushing these fake stories to boomer conservatives. It's actually kind of entertaining. And those guys were able to get decent-looking women because they had money all of a sudden in poor little Moldova. But what conservatives keep doing is they just run interference. I talked about that debate some time back of Styx and Spencerito, and Styx was claiming they were listening to CNN and MSNBC in the lamestream media and Beijing Biden, and no one's been charged with anything except trespassing. No, as time progresses, more people have been charged. They're probably going to charge Trump with involvement as well. This is what happens. If you fail in these sort of things in other countries, you either get put in prison, you get exiled, you get shot. So some of these people are actually getting off fairly light. But again, these average to subpar males, maybe the guy in Louisiana we just talked about, maybe he was sexually frustrated. Maybe he wanted to have more authority over his wife or his life, because his wife kind of looks like a Karen with glasses. But this is the consequence. I mean, Pat Stedman, in a few hours, you destroy your livelihood, your freedom, probably your marriage, because unless you've got criminal game, women are not going to stick around once you're incarcerated. He probably lost a ton of money too, because these defenses are expensive. And you ask, were you even thinking? Is this a smart thing to do as a rando guy, as a normie guy? No, because maybe a really attractive person, there'd be more sympathy. But a rando, dude, you're just ruining a big part of your life, and you're going to probably come out with low SMV, less money, and very likely get divorced. I hate to say it. Just to be clear, this has happened with leftists. Conservatives will say, not a single Antifa or BLM was arrested. That's untrue. It's just that those organizations, a little bit smarter, they targeted deep blue areas with liberal prosecutors and mayors, and they were not striking at the symbol of soy democracy. You have to understand there's a lot of people in this country who still believe their vote counts, we're all Americans, this is hallowed ground. And when you do that, the elites get a little rattled and they say we have to come back harshly, otherwise we're going to look weak and it'll keep happening in the future. This girl, potential trad wife for some of you curry cells, she was a lawyer, and I guess she consuming a cocktail? No, sorry, she threw a cocktail at a car, a police car that had no one in it, and it blew up. So she got a year and a half, got disbarred, along with her Clarence friend. And then this one, definitely a candidate for Bioleninism, she threw a bomb at a car with cops in it. She got 6 years. Now you might say she should have been harsher, but again, local cops, city cops are considered more expendable than the sanctity of democracy defenders. This guy as well, he attacked someone with a baton, got 6 years. So it does happen, but once more, they understand to do it strategically, whereas these Trump people, look at my face, look at me live streaming, look at me doing this, the symbol of soy democracy. So if they'd been successful, not a problem. But if you fail, you have to have a backup plan. Otherwise, what are you? You're a normie, losing your job, losing your money, probably losing your marriage. And what for? for this president who's going to cut taxes and help corporations. I mean, again, I voted for Trump. I'm not entirely anti-Trump, but you got to be able to see past these things. So if you're a normie and you are into politics, just be able to have a limit. If you want to get engaged with something a little bit loopy, look at the people around you. Are they competent? Do they have organizational capacity? Do they have a plan? Or is it QAnon? Trust the plan. Or is it listening to Ali Alexander? These are people that they benefit from the brinkmanship, from the, oh, it's about to happen, it's about to happen. They love to see other individuals take the fall while they run away and claim, oh, it's just First Amendment rights. So, just my advice, if you are average to below average, don't do this. There was a guy, or maybe even two guys, that they went there and they got on Bumble afterwards and they tried to flex, and they ended up getting arrested because the women weren't impressed with some sub 5 bragging about doing the hoedown throwdown. It's a real dynamic. Don't toss your life away on some political LARP, because people are just going to forget about you and you're going to bear the consequences of your actions. You're not going to be seen as a hero by the vast majority of the population.